Huh? Hi, Maya.
You want me on the podcast?
She's on it already.
Why am I leaning like this? She can't see me any better.
I think you're watching YouTube 360?
Yeah.
It's real now. That's
It's
crazy.
real, man.
She's kneading her bed.
Little does everyone know you're watching this video in YouTube 360. Welcome to the Roundtable Podcast. Whoa!
All our chairs turn.
If we don't all commit to that, I just look like a goddamn fool. You
I
guys,
tried to help you out.
Dude, I am loving that cat kneading in the background.
Yeah,
It's really
she's
good.
loving it right now. She's so tired.
We need that cat like that cat needs that bed.
Little Maya, what are you doing? Ignoring
Fuck
the
off.
shit out of me. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you all for joining us for another episode. It's episode 4, which means we now have an episode that we can all individually lay claim to. So I'm going to dibs this one because just by default, it should be a little bit better than the previous 3. I am Baertaffy, joined again by MathasGames, Rockleesmile, and what's your name?
Ernesto.
Eggman.
Ernesto joins us today. Welcome, Ernesto.
That is racist as fuck.
Why?
That was pretty racist, man.
That was,
What?
that was really racist.
No, that was not racist at all.
That's... Man, we're gonna get, not only do we have like the little E on iTunes now, but we're also gonna get a little R for extremely racist. Like that, it'll just go in order.
ER extremely
Yeah. Did you ever watch that
damn.
show?
I'm sorry.
All the characters on that program, I mean, like, they just took turns ribbing each other for their various cultural stereotypes. I think that was a really good program. Today's show is going to involve us just spewing and gushing all about the various activities we've all been a part of over the last couple of weeks. You saw, while we were in attendance at those events, namely PAX East and GDC, saw our previous episode go up. Since then, we've added a new tier to the Patreon at $50,000 a month. We will kick Mathas off the show and replace him with a much less racist host. So if you'd like to get us to that point...
But he's only going to stay off the show as long as we're above 50.
Over the
Yeah, yeah.
You can't pledge 50,000 once and get him kicked off. That only buys you a month.
Right.
So budget accordingly.
He's going to be watching it like a hawk, too. He'll know when we're recording the first episode without him, and as soon as that drops below, he's going to jump right in and start fucking shit up. So you got to make sure... You got to make sure we're ready for that.
Eat my M's.
They think it's a joke, but like if you go to the Patreon, it actually says it.
It does. Yeah, no, that's legit.
I thought
Patreon
somebody
actually
photoshopped
encouraged
that
us.
shit. They didn't.
Someone asked, so do I get any of the money?
No, you don't get any of the money anyway. So I mean, like, why would we start now?
I mean, that's true, but that tier is specifically tailored toward my freedom. So I get like a severance check.
oh, you're
like,
free. Yeah, geez, your
paid
freedom
M&M.
now. Apparently, we're fucking keeping you hostage here. Yeah, we're going to talk about PAX and GDC. We're going to talk about Hotline Miami 2, the new release, and also Cities Skylines, which has been taking the world by storm as well. So, really exciting stuff game-wise to talk about. Then, of course, everyone's favorite segment that we should be fixing, but still continue not to, Nick's Weird Games. Send Nick Weird Games. We all have the link down in the description below. You can send it to his P.O. box, and he will show off a game that you happen to
if you don't have any
send us.
weird games, send them used porn. That's all right, too.
Don't do that.
Used porn.
What is even used porn infer?
Don't do that, please.
Jesus.
I love the idea of a used porn bookstore or something like that.
Oh my God.
That's like a Portlandia
Secondhand?
sketch. Fucking secondhand, first-hand, 10th hand.
I wonder what
maybe.
GameStop's trading value for porn is.
I mean,
They've
they've got
gotta be close
the...
to taking it at this point.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to get upset by this, but the visual novels, I mean, you can print those out and probably trade them in, right? Steam's got a handful of those now.
Send Nick your used visual novels.
Oh,
Oh,
my
God.
God. What are you trying to
Please.
do to me?
Send you sticky, crusty books.
Don't ever send me a sticky, crusty book.
Never? Never?
Not
Do
ever.
Under
The
what
more I fight
circumstances?
it, the more I'm going to get them now, too.
I
Which
know,
Is the
just
best.
do it.
Yeah.
It's the internet, man.
No, Ryan's just sitting there going, "Yep, you're getting them." You're
I mean,
Nothing. The only thing you can do to make it not happen is to just like let it float away into the ether, and then
Yeah.
6 months from now it'll stop.
Now that we've dedicated at least 90 seconds of discussion to it, you know somebody right now is like smearing
Oh my
Smucker's
God.
jelly all over a copy of Catcher in the Rye, just waiting for your
I
PO
hope you're
box
going to get a
to
little bit
accept.
more graphic than that and be like, he is right now just beating off to a book.
smearing what, Bear?
Smucker's jelly. You ever had Smucker's?
No, I thought you said something completely different. I don't even know what it was.
Sucker's
Is it-
jelly.
For
Is it
like
out
the
of-
past 2 weeks, I've been getting like a copy of Grey's Anatomy.
What the
a week.
Wait, Wait, show the camera again?
Oh, if you're listening audio only, you're missing out on a really good visual aid here. That is,
just,
those are all French.
3 French
all
copies,
French
1
Canadian.
English.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we like I don't know, play that on one of the streams one time?
Fuck, dude, you want a copy? I
I
got
think
one
that's
for
actually a
We
really
have one
good
for
idea.
everybody.
Yeah, one for each. Yeah, that's amazing.
Barely McSteamy.
I'll
Yeah.
give you one of the English ones.
When are you gonna finish your Let's Play of Grey's Anatomy? Ryan?
That's never going to happen, but now I have the resources, absolutely.
You need one different disc for every episode, I guess, is a pretty good
That'll come back when
approximation.
Poison Mushroom comes back, right?
You just gonna rattle off all the series he's killed?
Hey man, all I'm saying, I was a fan one day.
One day.
Way back in
whole
the day.
day. You made it through the whole day, 24 hours.
That's better than most. PAX East
Wow.
took place a couple of weeks ago, and now it's even further in the future at the time that we're all watching this with you. So that's fucking weird. But
Wow.
so you guys just let's just get right into the nitty gritty. Tell me what your favorite thing was that you saw at PAX East this year, because I wasn't there. I get to experience it vicariously through you.
M&M came out of my mouth there. Sorry.
That was my favorite
That's
thing at
fucking
PAX East right there, the M&M.
M&M out of the mouth.
Eminem coming out of his mouth, which means he had a mini version of Eminem inside.
Who
his
wants to
mouth.
start? Who wants to start?
Why don't you start? You're the one talking.
Fuck. All right. I don't have like a favorite thing, but there's a couple things that I really enjoyed. One that comes to mind immediately is Necropolis. I don't know if anybody here played Necropolis at all.
I want to play it. I've seen it.
It's hard. Even the developers are like, it's Dark Souls. It's by Harebrained Schemes, the guys who did Shadowrun Returns. The combat
Not making that sound.
is incredibly Dark Souls, like right bumper attacks. You got the shield, the dodge. Everything is mapped exactly like Dark Souls.
This looks so much like Titan Souls too.
Yeah, it's really, really good though. I had a good time with it. Only 6 at the time of me playing it. Only 6 people had actually beaten the demo, so it was really challenging. I got to like the last room and I got like killed. Made me sad about that, but that was really fun. I enjoyed it.
Did you get killed or did you get killed?
I was gonna play on that, but I don't know.
All right, it's gonna be one of those podcasts.
What a
I got it.
scum.
Oh no, we talked about this on the pre-PAX episode.
We
didn't
did talk about it on the
Yeah,
pre-PAX
yeah,
episode,
yeah,
but
okay.
none of you guys went and played it, apparently. It was good, though. There's not much there. Like, the story is there's this wizard's tower that the wizard left and abandoned many, many, many years ago, but he left in its place, like, this construct. I forget what they called him. And the construct is protecting it, but he's gotten out of control at this point, and all the adventurers that have tried to go in have died, and their corpses have been raised to create the army that is protecting it, and you're going in to try and beat this guy and claim the tower and all this stuff. So, pretty simple story, but the combat is really solid, very responsive so far. They only had it playable on a 360 controller, so I don't know what it's going to be like on a keyboard and mouse. When I asked them, they said it's definitely made to be played on a gamepad. But it was fun, and each hero, when you go in, each run is supposed to be short, so it's like a roguelite-ish element. There's going to be like 4 or 5 floors with different bosses for each one. When you pick a hero, they have different stats, so you go in with different heroes. It's got this cool mishmash of different games that I enjoy. I feel like a lot of us are going to enjoy it. Bitchin'. I can keep going. I played a lot of stuff in the indie mini booth. I can't remember one of the games that I played. It was this 4-player Star Fox competitive type space shooter.
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah.
told me about that.
He's into it. I don't know.
Oh yeah!
Two really weird sounds you've made today.
But you were I remember it. You were like, it has a name. It's like Starfleet.
Yes.
Or Space.
I got an email from them.
Oh,
Star Fox.
yeah.
What the fuck is your problem?
Was it called Star Fox? Did you play Star
Sky
Fox?
Arena.
Star Fox?
Yep, it's Sky Arena. It was really early, but it was really fun. I enjoyed that. I played with Dan, my brother, myself, and some other random person. That was really good. What else did I play? I didn't get to play Dreadnought. Did anybody here get to play Dreadnought? I really wanted to. No.
That was the Oculus game?
That was
Oh, you got real quiet.
Was that the Oculus game?
There you are.
No, that's that 5-on-5 like spaceship kind of arena combat game. It's really slow paced. Your ships are really like slow and lumbering. It looked fun. And then I played a game called Flamingo. Did anybody else here play Flamingo? God,
Nice.
okay.
Where have you been? Did
Yeah,
you
I
actually go
know.
to PAX East? Did you go like some
I
secret
know. It's
convention?
some other game. Flamingo, it was this really tiny game that we tried out. It's a really quick, kind of like, takes maybe like a minute or two to play around with somebody. And it's like a Mexican standoff. So you're playing, you get randomly assigned. It's a Mexican standoff. So you get randomly
dropping
assigned
those
these guys.
bombs
with
all
guns.
day.
Again.
They have 1, 2, 3, or 4 guns. Depending on how many guns they have will determine if they shoot first, second, third, or fourth. You place 4 of them down. Your enemy places 4 of them down. When you're placing them down, you're blind to what the enemy's doing until you both put them down. And then at the end, when you've all put all 4 down, you all shoot each other at the same time. And again, whoever has like 1 gun shoots before someone who has 4 guns. And then whoever has the most money and the most kills at the end wins. It's very simple.
Hey, this looks really cool, actually. Tell me more about Flamingo, which, by the way, I struggled to look for it. But you said it was called Flamingo. It's actually called Flamingo.
Yeah,
It's
that
got
would
an
have cleared it up a
exclamation
lot,
point.
yeah. And I want to apologize to our listeners who
with
had to hear some loud chicken squawks, which doesn't really seem like it fits the theme of Flamingo.
So
okay.
you found it?
I did find
found
it,
it.
yeah. Break out the tequila and cacti. You know, the 2 things you keep in the same cabinet in your kitchen back home.
It's super simple. So when the map is kind of randomly generated, I hesitate to say that because it's just a flat map, and then there are banks that are just randomly put around the map. And the goal is to shoot the bank to get the money. If you shoot the bank and get the money for that character, and then an enemy shoots your character who has the money, they will get the money off of your corpse. And the goal is to just have the most money at the end of a round. It's a really simple concept. There's not a lot of depth to it, but it was fun, and I went back to it like 2 times after we played just to go play a couple of rounds because there was never anybody over there, which is a shame because I thought it was a cool idea. I'd be curious how much it costs when it comes out, and if they end up doing anything else with it, because I feel like you could take that idea and maybe have it a little bit more, like give the option for more structured fights instead of randomly assigning what kind of guys you get. You could like build your team of, do I want to do all like guys with 1 gun, or do I want to do like 3 1-gunners and a 4-gunner? But right now, the love gun.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. But it's fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a really fun game.
It's kind of like a team-based version of the struggle minigame in the introductory segment of Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh my god, I don't even
It's a
remember.
very specific reference.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
Probably accurate, given
Probably.
how
It'll
specific
resonate
it was.
with several people.
Yeah. I played Dead Years.
Of course you did.
No, really, where'd you go?
Seriously, where are these games? I didn't hear like any of these.
Like, I know that there's booths tucked away that no one ever visits, but you were, like, digging behind the drywall trying
I
to
went
find
out of the
people.
way to get like the weird stuff. Dead Years is just a really terrible. I mean, at the time.
Oh, no.
Wow.
I remember talking to you about
Yeah.
that at the convention, about how shitty it must be to hear that if you're a developer who spent like 10 grand.
Yeah.
No
to
kidding, yeah.
go to the convention, and then they're like, finally, a YouTuber came and played it, and he's telling everybody how terrible it is.
It needs a lot of. It's an open world zombie survival game. So right off the bat, you have an uphill.
Oh,
battle.
so his radar went off, and then he just
Yeah.
I was like,
He was
whoa.
to it.
Man, it's
zombie
like
game.
money. I smell YouTube views.
And then the last game I'll talk about is Black Fawn. Did anybody here try that? No, of course not.
Black
So
Swan.
Black Fawn is a mix of Diablo and The Binding of Isaac. It really is. You go through floors, you fight a boss at the end, there's a treasure room. They're randomly generated, but the combat is Diablo. It's you get abilities, and it's top down, you're clicking around, you hotkey your abilities to fight the enemies. And right now they have 20 items in the game, and by launch they want to have a little over 100 items in the game. It was fun. I enjoyed that one. That was kind of cool. I thought it was pretty neat. There you
I'm
go.
all for that,
items.
man. Yeah, and it makes me such an easy target, but anytime a game is like, it's The Binding of Isaac plus something, I'm like, I'll check that out.
Yeah, I figured you. That's why I'm surprised
Yeah.
you haven't tried it. But again, it was off in like the back wall, off the side of like the mega booth, way far away. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was right next to Dead Years.
I think that's probably a pretty common sentiment, though, these days. I mean, it's not just you for obvious reasons, but there's probably a lot of people who are thinking to themselves, Binding of Isaac qualities tend to result in at least enjoyable experiences for the most part.
They even marketed that to me. They're like, it is like the Binding of Isaac meets Diablo. That was their goal. I was like, all right, well, at least you are being like upfront about it. Like that is your inspiration.
Yeah.
It was cool.
For me, it's not even like random and procedural elements. I really like a scope of a game that you can play in like half an hour to an hour,
Yep.
and then play
Yeah.
it multiple times to get better each time.
and have different synergies and stuff.
Right? Yeah, like that stuff's appealing.
Infinite replayable. Mm-hmm. So I'll stop there because I can't think of anything else right now. But I'd be curious to hear what you guys played. Maybe it'll ring a bell.
Nick, what'd you play?
All right, so my big one, and I think most of you probably saw this at some point, was Viking Squad. It's kind of like a pseudo-procedurally generated Castle Crashers with a little bit of a rogue legacy element in that each time you play through it, you unlock some passive skills that kind of add up.
I'm liking that there's a lot more games that are doing that. That's an element that I'm getting behind, too.
I've been for that for a long time, and I'm really happy to see people are embracing the idea of long-form play with sort of little bite-sized chunks that are just fun to play, and especially the fact that I just love online brawlers, and there's not enough that do that. So to add procedural elements to that as well sounds like we'll probably be playing that for a while, and it plays very well. It's kind of like a Golden Axe kind of feeling, or like I said, Castle Crashers.
Oh, no, it's got, very Castle Crashers-esque from what I'm looking
the art
at
style
here,
kind of
sure.
seems similar. It's very polished, too, and the animations look lovely. It feels good to hit stuff, and, looks lovely as well.
It does feel good to hit stuff.
It does feel good to hit stuff.
I was thinking the other night, like, I'm pretty sure I told you guys this. I couldn't remember because I had $100 worth of hotel liquor, but it feels so good to just pick shit up and throw it, doesn't it?
How often do you really do that, though?
I know, you don't get to. So when you do, it's, like, even more satisfying. I'm not even talking about in games. I'm talking about, like, literally picking this shit up and I'm not
bowling.
Don't hurl him, but...
If you join a bowling league, you can pick up shit and throw it all the time.
That's probably why most people join bowling leagues. That's why you joined a bowling league, right, Ryan?
No, French fries.
I thought you just called him Ryan.
Right.
Right.
That's my
right.
Can that be
what I like about Viking Squad was basically like as soon as we got there, the guy's like, well, like we like beat 'em ups, but with the like vertical or verticality on the plane, it can be kind of difficult to tell like where you line up with enemies. So we just like split it up into 3 lanes, and you just like snap to the lanes basically. And I was like, that's really convenient.
That old Sega game,
Streets of Rage.
No, not
the other
that
one is Golden Axe.
No,
the other Sega game.
God damn it.
That's all of the brawlers.
What was after Sega Genesis that failed?
Okay.
Saturn.
Saturn.
Sega Saturn.
You're going to reference a Sega Saturn game right now.
Sega CD?
Yeah.
Is it going to be Panzer Dragoon then? Because that doesn't fit at all. Because that's the only one anyone knows about.
Oh, not Night Trap.
Night Trap Sega CD.
No, that was my other material.
CD was before Saturn, wasn't it?
Primal Rage.
It was.
Yes, it was.
Not Primal Rage. It is a really weird anime style beat 'em up.
Someone's gonna know what it is. And
I guarantee you all know it if you just keep talking.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it has a guy in golden armor. He's like a skeleton in golden armor. He's like the main character.
Oh shit! I think I know who this is.
Yes, there you go. There's a guy
on.
who's like a melee fighter. A girl who's a witch of some sort, if I remember. Fuck, what is the name of this game? Because it was lanes. It was lanes for them as well. I think it was 3 lanes that you just snap to.
Oh my man. Okay, hold on. We're dedicating this section of the show to figuring out what the hell
I typed in Sega Saturn
about.
fighting game, and that just brought up like thousands of different fighting games.
I've got ghouls and ghosts for some reason.
Guardian Heroes.
Guardian Heroes.
Oh
there
shit!
You go. That's what it was. Guardian Heroes.
You got it.
You guys got the Google.
Thank
Foo.
you.
Mm-hmm.
When I was
the Google Foo.
When I was like 14, my uncle bought me a book, and it was just like how to use Google. And I was like, this is the lamest book of all time. But then I read through it and check it out, motherfuckers.
You found Guardian Heroes.
Oh, you learned about like motherfucking Boolean operators, right?
I did, yeah. You know, like how to put the quotation marks so it parses properly.
It's only $400 on Amazon right now.
What, the Google book?
No, Guardian Heroes.
Oh, okay.
It's a good deal.
I got mine signed, but it's just signed by my uncle, so it's not really like.
What, Guardian
It's just
Heroes?
happy birthday, Ryan.
Guardian Heroes?
His copy of Guardian Heroes, signed by my uncle.
Anyway, sorry, random tangent. I apologize. It's my fault.
No, it was cool. I used to like to play that game at GameStop all the time. People would come in and be like, yeah, I know like 3 things about this game. Can you tell me what it is? I usually was decent at it. Never had to look for Saturn games, though, unfortunately. Anyway.
Were you there when Sega Saturn games were on the shelves?
No.
No, you weren't. That was a bit before.
No one was,
right?
really.
Right, yeah, I guess.
I don't think... Did we ever carry Saturn games?
I
was there for PS2 Xbox generation. That was like...
I was there for the switch over.
Primal mover.
PS2 Xbox to 360 PS3. I don't miss it.
Don't forget GameCube.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyway, other games that I played, I got to check out Vivian Clark, a new build of that with my pal Will Brierly, who made Soda Drinker Pro. Even gave me a couple of bonus sodas, because he's a nice guy, and they're delicious.
I saw that there. I saw that there.
So it's a game where this is a very, very difficult one to explain. You start out as a bit of water, and you put yourself on top of a fire, which turns you into mist, and then you go up into the sky, and you kind of just do like little mini games that lead you to turning into all kinds of other little emergent worlds that end up as different characters that go down the line. So every time you play it, you're going to have a slightly different path depending on how you do in the mini games and what you decide to turn into. And over time, you'll unlock more and more areas, which then just kind of make a sprawling, bizarre little world. It's a game that I think more people should have on their radar because I think it's looking very interesting.
What's it called again?
Vivian Clark. It was actually started as the secret game inside of Soda Drinker Pro if you stand next to the rock for about a minute.
Oh, okay.
If you can stand next to the rock for about a minute, you deserve your own game.
Well, you get one.
VivianClark.com has all those crazy things about it. There's 2 ways to get it. One is to search the internet and you'll find out how to unlock it. And the second way is to find it somewhere on this page at VivianClark.com.
Well, I just gave away one of them.
Oh, well, there you go.
So, sorry.
I don't know. It sounds kind of derivative to me.
Yeah? Yeah.
It's a little bit too much like FIFA 08.
Oh.
Yeah.
It has some Binding of Isaac elements, so there's that. You should probably check it out, honestly.
Vivian Clark has been league MVP for like the past 6 years.
Is there like a career mode like in NBA 2K14?
Absolutely. Yep. Your life's a career when you think about it.
That's true.
Don't bring up that game anymore. Yeah.
Man, I don't like that when you Google image search Vivian Clark, you just get a bunch of ladies.
Ooh.
Like,
that's bullshit. They shouldn't have that name.
Is the safety search on or off?
They should respect trademark, honestly. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with them.
Oh, the third one's a really old lady.
Whoa.
All right.
Wow, never seen an old lady before.
Been a while. It goes
Don't
from...
say it's been a while. Fuck.
It's been a long time.
I didn't think Mathas would be the wild card of this group, to be honest.
I mean, as soon as we threatened to fire him, he just fucking let it go and said, I might as well get all these out of the way.
Does not care anymore.
What, dude? This is really ambitious. Okay.
Yeah.
The neat thing about Vivian Clark is it's infinitely expandable. So if you have an idea, tell us, and we'll find a way to build it into the game. That seems like a little bit of an unrealistic.
No, he's
promise.
serious. I simply mentioned spaghetti mode on Twitter. He added it to his game. He's serious. He'll do it.
Whoa, hold up.
Yeah.
Call to action.
Yeah.
Podcast listeners. What's his name?
Podcast mode?
What's his Twitter handle?
At Soda Drinker Pro.
You know what to do.
Blow it up.
I want the weirdest shit you can concoct because this dude's asking for it. He wants to hear your ideas for building a my player NBA 2K14 career within Vivian Clark.
Oh,
I'm gonna tweet him that. Shit, I'll do it. I want to see that.
Drinker Pro. I'm gonna tweet him Roundtable Podcast mode.
Yeah. I don't know what that means. It probably just involves a lot of Mathas's racism, but
I was going to say, Mathas says we won't put anything in the game that's racist, so you might as well just stop right now.
Yeah.
Damn it!
It has a Mathas clause. I think every developer really needs a Mathas clause when you think about it.
I only play your games if it's a survival game anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's true.
Shit on it.
Well, if you think about it, every game's a survival game.
That's deep.
That's crazy, man. I wish him the best of luck. I'll play it.
He's got a lot of it done right now. Like, I watched him play through
infinitely expanding, though, so he's got an equal percentage of all of it and none of it done.
Yeah, you're right about that. If it's infinite, yeah, I guess he's not very far.
Infinitely expandable.
Or is he very far?
Infinite undiscovery. Find a way to work that into the game.
Wait,
I'm on it. Soda
That's a
Drinker
PS2
Pro.
game, isn't it?
That's a PS2 game, yeah. Dude, I already wanted to buy that just because of the name. That was back in the day when I was going to Blockbusters just to try to look for games that looked cool because I didn't know how to read. So
The trick was you go to GameStop and you look for the used games that are $45.99, like even though they've been out for 6 months.
Is that how you know they were good?
That's how you know they're rare, at least.
Okay.
That's how you know they're published by Activision.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, for the Xbox One,
That
we
was
used to have
easy.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was $100
For the Xbox One, huh?
for the first Xbox.
Yeah, no, that I had to trip you up there.
God, stupid Microsoft.
Fucking Microsoft.
It's a bad name still. I still don't like it.
And the Wii U.
Xbox
We used a
One.
terrible name too.
Yeah,
It should have been the Super Wii. That would have been so cool.
I'll show you my Super Wii.
Give me the Super
I don't get the PS4. Is like a PS for what?
Fuck you, man. What else did you like, Nick?
What's the PS4? I have a PS4 and the PS2. I don't know what it's supposed to be in addition to. PS3 I got because it was the third one I owned.
We can't even play off this. It's just
nonsense. Doesn't have to record at 10:30 at night.
It's not even 10:30.
In my world, it is
It's way earlier than that.
10:23.
Fuck, Mathas.
I hate you all. $50,000. Hurry the fuck up.
So, the other highlight of my trip for PAX was meeting Mike Bithell. Been
I like
talking
that
to that guy for a while. Got to have lunch with him. It was a lovely experience. Great guy, of course. But, you know, not a whole lot to say about that. Just happy I got to meet him.
We all paid for our own meals, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. There's no kind of sneaky over the table, under the table stuff going on.
We would disclose that before the show if we had known that Nick was going to talk about Mike Bithell, because
he was like,
dangerous
let me buy
waters.
you some trailer park tacos in order to promote volume. And I said, no, Mike Bithell. We don't do that shit. I'll play your game because it looks cool, but I'm going to buy my own tacos. Quite frankly, I don't know if you can afford as many tacos as I want to buy right now.
Yo, street
I could eat a lot of
tacos, that's my jam, man. We had great street taco vendors in Utah before the tacopolis. I thought there was going to be a much better way to say that, but
Checks out, man.
I guess.
It worked well, to be honest with you.
Tacopolis.
I just don't think about tacos and Utah going together.
You wouldn't.
I do.
Do you?
It's borders Arizona, borders New Mexico, close to California. Utah's like, as far as I'm concerned, Utah's in the Southwest.
Really?
It borders Arizona, man.
So does fucking like one other state. That I mean, that doesn't really justify my side of the argument at all. If I'm going to say Utah's more of the Midwest, which I think it is.
The
Utah's
Midwest
like
makes no sense. The U.S. Census Bureau, until 1981, they didn't call it the Midwest. They called it the North Central part of the country, which makes so much more sense. Then they changed it to the Midwest, which makes no sense.
No, dude, they're like the same amount of sense.
Middle of the
making.
West, man.
What do you mean
Yeah.
the middle of the West?
Yeah,
middle of the
take
West.
the fucking like the West as a segment block of the country and just stick your finger in the middle of it.
Michigan is considered a Midwestern
Whatever,
state.
man.
Michigan's not in the West. It's
The
like
people in the
basically East.
Midwest, the people in the Midwest are too stupid to realize it doesn't make sense.
Wow,
Oh
that's
God damn, that's like racist to
Wild
white
card.
people. How did you
The
do that?
Detroit Red Wings, Detroit Pistons, and Detroit Tigers all play in their Eastern conferences in sports, but it's a
Well,
Midwest
that's just
state.
dumb. I mean, no one likes that. No one
Dan
gets that at
Giesling
all.
lives out there anyway. Who cares?
It's
Dan
North
Giesling's a
Cen-
member of the White Sox.
I thought you were going to say, well, he's a white
What is
supremacist.
happening right now? Leave Dan Giesling alone.
Nick, what other games did you like at PAX East? What games did you like at
I
PAX
don't even
Mid-East?
remember anymore. I looked at a lot of booths. There were lines everywhere, and I
looked at
just
a lot
kind of
of
watched
booths.
people play games for a second and then walked away. That's like what I did for most of the show.
Yeah, I mean, that sums up most convention experiences, I think.
Yeah,
Aw,
sure.
Sad.
Yeah, sorry.
I like it. I love the convention.
I hate conventions, man. I don't like them. I'll say it. I don't like conventions. I don't like...
Don't come next time.
I won't! You know?
Good, I don't
won't
want you
come.
here.
All right, fine. God.
What'd you play, Ryan?
I played Enter the Gungeon. Why is nobody talking about
Oh, Enter the Gungeon. I played
whoa.
Enter the Gungeon.
This is the game
Oh,
where you're like,
yeah! Love that one.
Great.
you're
That
like a
game was
gun that
so
shoots
good.
bullets, right? Like you shoot at bullets with bullets.
Okay,
Oh.
Enter the Gungeon is a hybrid of The Binding of Isaac and Nuclear Throne. It's a real-time twin-stick shooter with procedurally generated dungeons and items. More frantic, it's gun-based, as you might expect. So rather than picking up items that give you, like, you know, higher rate of fire or something like that, more HP, you pick up guns. But the guns have synergies, and you can carry 2 of them at a time, similar to Nuclear Throne. So some of the combinations that were showed off, for example, would be like you could get an oil or a grease gun, and when you put it on the ground, it makes the ground slippery, but it also gives it the property of, like, flammability. So if you have, like, a fire gun associated with it, you could grease up the ground, then light it on fire, or you could just shoot a torch and it would light the ground with fire and, you know, hit the enemies and stuff like that. And it seems fucking sweet. Like, we played that for about probably, like, 20 minutes, close to the end of the first day. On the show floor, and just had like a really good time. And the dev was showing off like some of the guns that you can get in like the late game, like
The black
it was
hole
like
gun?
black hole gun fires
Yeah, that was
black
awesome.
holes, or there was like the
laser, wasn't there?
the unicorn one, which is like a
think you showed me that
brimstone type like beam weapon, but when it fires, it plays like a jaunty little tune in the background.
Did he show you the
It
machine gun
seems-
like rocket launcher?
He
There's a Super
might
Soaker.
have. You should have the Super Soaker, like the water gun. It seems super cool, and like it's got like its head on its shoulders properly when it comes to like the roguelike-ish stuff. It's going to be about 2 hours long. He said if you're doing it all in one sitting, it's going to have a save game function. And the moment-to-moment gameplay is really cool as well. Like there's actually cover-based in a way. Like there's kind of environmental objects that you can interact with, like tables, and you can just go over to the table and like flip it over, and then hide behind it as cover, and then peek out from that and shoot. And it's got kind of a cool.
Too.
It is destructible. Yeah, it's got a cool, cutesy art design, and it seems really good. Like immediately after playing it, I was like, this is. It moved its way up from like, I'm intrigued with that to like this is the game that I'm most excited for this year, basically.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Big words.
Yeah.
Well, some of them were, yeah.
So that seems like really good. And apparently that's coming out in September. Hopefully get to play more of that. Worst case scenario, I guess at Prime, but maybe not September, but he said sometime in like Q3. So I guess that's like July, August, September.
What
we'll
is
see.
Q3? That's like August to
I never
October?
know when those are.
It's different because financially,
I guess it just
Q4?
depends on your financial year, right?
Q4 is like January, February, March, or something like that. Financially. But from a release standpoint, Q1 is like Jan, February, March. So Q3 would be July, August, September.
Are you texting?
No, I'm not texting. I'm muting my phone.
You're texting on our show.
Yeah,
I was muting the phone!
No, he was texting.
Oh, yeah, enter the dungeon.
No! I was muting my phone! I swear to God!
Man,
I'm gonna start Snapchatting. Like,
Doing
you
an
guys are just
email.
going
He's
and
trying
it's
to get a
like,
press copy of it already.
let's take fucking
He is-
selfies, man. Was that a
guy's-
calculator, by the way?
no, that was my phone.
That's your phone?
The Galaxy Note 4, baby.
That's a
Oh, shit, dude. I got
badass phone.
A swinging door on the front of it. That's
I
pretty
know, I
wild.
got this case for it.
You guys are you phone twins?
Kind of, yeah. He's got an S4. I think I have an S3.
Oh, dude, we're actually
Oh,
phone
it's
twins.
Big Brother.
No,
That's 3.
Yeah,
Check out my
Oh,
case.
see, I have
It's
the
the
Galaxy
Note, sorry?
Note, so yeah.
That was a cool case, isn't it?
you got it.
That
You
is a
got
cool
sorry.
case.
Yeah,
I
game
don't
boy
have
case.
Galaxy a Bear. I have the Note.
Oh,
I have
well.
the Note 2.
I just fucking suck then.
I'm not
I
holding
bet-
up my
man.
phone.
this is becoming part
I
of
get
the
enough
show.
shit about my phone as it is.
Have you guys? I don't know if it was actually at the event, but you may have seen anything regarding Guild of Dungeoneering.
I have a code
Anything?
for it. I haven't played it yet. I heard it was really good.
Okay, so I want to play it quite a bit. You guys ever play the board game Munchkins?
Yeah?
Yep.
It's kind of like that. So it's a
Really?
game based around building. It's kind of like playing Munchkins, where you build the dungeon as you go, and you try to construct. I'm pretty sure you're actually playing from the perspective of trying to kill the hero that's making their way through the dungeon. So you put down various traps and dangers and monsters and stuff in an effort
Dungeon
to
Keeper.
Yeah, something like that. So it seems really interesting. Like I'm very
Doesn't it look
excited
like
about it.
Doesn't it look like pen and paper almost? Like
A
the
little bit,
graphics?
yeah. It's got
Isn't
a pen and paper style to it. It's like I think it might even be black and white.
Yeah,
if
that's what I
recall
thought.
correctly. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to see because I know I got a code for it, but I haven't used it yet. Because I heard one of my friends played it at PAX East, and he said he really liked it. So I want to check it out.
You can't just keep making sounds.
No, you can.
I remember looking at this.
You can make all the sounds you want.
I remember. This looks cool, man.
It does.
Wait
yeah.
a minute. This looks a lot like a game I played a long time ago, and it was a roguelike. It's called like Crayon Chronicles or something like that. Did they make Crayon Chronicles?
Maybe.
Don't
I remember you
fucking
making a
lie to
video
me.
on that.
They made
they might have.
Unnamed Fantasy Tactics game. They made
Gambrinus.
Unnamed Fantasy Risk game.
Those were both smash hits back in their day.
No, I think they did not make that, but it looks very similar. It had like kind of a kiddie fonts style going on. That's cool though.
Yep.
They have a reverse psychology method down at the bottom of their page, trying not to get you to share it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's smart.
Well, it's worked on us, hasn't it?
Yeah, it sure has.
Clearly.
So, I wanted to talk to you guys if
Oh, okay.
PAX East.
All right.
I mean,
Things
I
getting
felt like
serious.
maybe we could talk if that's
All right.
okay. For like a couple hours at a time, then we'll do it every couple weeks.
Are we on that kind of level as
Maybe.
friends? Do you think we can get away with that?
It's getting a little personal.
Yeah,
One of us might get really racist out of nowhere, but other than that, I think we're pretty much scot-free.
that's why he said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I went to GDC. I attended a talk. I attended a few. I attended this one talk in particular, hosted by a guy from Riot Games who created League of Legends. And he was talking about the pervasiveness of toxic and awful behavior in MOBAs and multiplayer online battle arena games like League of Legends, Dota, Heroes of the Storm, that kind of stuff.
Lord of the Rings, Guardians of Middle-earth.
That was one of
Riders
the more
of Newark,
prominent
New
ones.
Jersey.
Yeah. He actually mentioned that was their top competitor for the past year has been, you know, the Lotter games. Does anyone ever say that? People say Lotter, right?
All the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
One time I called System of a Down Satde, and my brother never talked to me again. True
Yeah?
story.
Still to
Oh
this
my
day.
God.
Yeah, to this day. So he presented these stats like regarding how players report toxic behavior, and something really surprised me that according to their reports they're getting from players, 99% of games are either neutral or good. Like, that's baffling to me. There's like less than 1% of games, statistically speaking, are bad. And I got to thinking,
Really?
yeah, I mean, like, according to their data, less than 1%. And, I mean, even thinking about my personal experiences, I'm pretty sure it's at least 30% of games that I would declare as,
Right.
this was an experience that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy.
So there's a flaw in the methodology of how you report them then.
Yeah, so that was interesting in and of itself. But then he went on to tell this story about a... they're actually experiencing really high levels of success with their new tribunal method, and you know they're working on that all the time with the reporting. Players can honor other players and that kind of thing. If you haven't played League of Legends, hopefully most of this makes sense, by the way. But he mentioned that they've been getting really good feedback in response to that, but they had one case in particular that stood out from the pack. So he started to detail about this case of this guy asking why he had received a ban, and they found, first of all, through the studies that they've done, that the majority of players respond really well to their bans, which is odd phrasing, I know, but they tend to improve behavior, or at least just, kind of go along with the fact that they were shitty and acknowledge it, if they're given feedback immediately and translucently. So they try as much as they possibly can to just tell them what they did wrong and show them evidence of when it happened and where they were pieces of shit, basically. And like, can you imagine that also? Is like, I don't know if there's just some sort of mental blockage that goes on when you just start spewing racial slurs. Like if you're Mathas in Dota, for example, and you just start going with N-bombs left and right, I mean, you must at some point just...
All I did was give Ernesto an accent. That's all I did.
That's how it starts.
You blew it,
Oh
man.
my god. And
That's
I
the
gave a
gateway
sexy
slur.
accent. The accent was good.
It wasn't even that good.
It was fantastic.
Don't.
Making
Ernesto
it
has
worse.
left the building, man.
Twisting the knife.
So...
I'm just gonna text. I mean, whatever.
I figured
Keep
you would
talking
anyway.
about
So
it, whatever.
he started just showing like, so okay, so he showed this guy. He's like, okay, so see where you said, I think actually what he said was, quote, "Akali, stop diving, you fucking idiot," and like that just happened every so often. He then changes to the next slide and it shows up and it says, okay, this is a very simple misunderstanding. I was the Akali. So the system apparently did not catch on the idea of self-depreciating humor, and that was a humorous anecdote to me, was that the system has flawed to the degree of not appreciating a man being able to rip into himself during a MOBA game. But it genuinely is surprising that the majority of MOBA experiences, apparently, statistically speaking, and not even just like a 50 or a 60-40 split, but it's like most of them are good, according to players. I'm wondering how it is that, like, we can allow the toxicity. I mean, he did show this very interesting graph as well as kind of a trend, of course. So they used the green, yellow, and red display model, and it had this interconnected twine of data, kind of like a DNA strand that they were showing of how the games would correspond to one another. And you would see that like one toxic person would kind of ruin the experience for a couple other people who would then get shitty and then get shitty, and then by the time it all ends, it's just this sea of red everywhere. So I guess it was strange to me to see that.
I'll tell you.
Most games were good. I think it was a lie. Yeah, I think the whole presentation was a lie.
I don't have 99% like enjoyment rate with the most enjoyable things in my life. Like I can't think of anything in my life where I'm like literally 99% of the time that knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
At least like 5%.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
It was just a baffling statistic. I couldn't. I didn't believe it. I really didn't. I was like, this is like when they put the goddamn since 1983 in quotation marks on the bottles of aspirin and stuff like that. It's like, you could put anything in there. I mean, you could attribute that to someone. I mean, I've been alive since 1989. That doesn't mean I've been servicing you with my delicious root beer snacks since then as well.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
A&W root beer barrels, obviously, the best candy I ever got when I was a kid getting
actually.
treats on Halloween, man. That was what I looked forward to.
99% seems crazy to me. Like I had a bad pizza last week. If I had one pizza a week, it would take 2 years of good pizza to make up that 99% pizza stat, and pizza's got a huge advantage over a video game. Yeah. It's delicious. It comes directly to my door. Usually what you want on it ends up being on it. In Dota, delicious. If you're being like optimistic, in Dota, probably like 25% of games. It's like 50% of the games are losses, roughly, and 25% of them just evolve into shit flinging, like consistently. Right. So I give it a 25 anecdotally. Not that I distrust their evidence, but I don't know.
Plus, the pizza guy probably never told you to kill yourself when he gave you your pizza, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Did he explain how he justifies that number in terms of like what their methodology was for saying what's a good game? Like, how do you define that?
Yeah, so I mean, well, that was the thing. Is what I am guessing was the case was that they just took all of the non-responses as neutral responses or positive responses. So it was like, you know, most of the time, I'm sure people don't even bother submitting any sort of feedback because it's like, I mean, this is just a general philosophy. Is like,
so this is based off of those who have reported something,
probably, or. Well, I mean, to the point of getting that 99% figure, I would imagine. Stop texting, goddammit.
Dude, I have nothing. I have nothing.
What are you looking at?
My finger.
Eyes up here.
I'm listening. I'm picking at my finger.
You're looking at your fingers.
I'm picking at my finger. I'm picking at my finger.
Oh my God.
Wow. Jesus.
We only need 99% more funding to get rid of this kind of shit.
God. No vote. I will stand up. I have no
All right.
vote.
Oh,
Don't stand up.
I think it matters when you ask people as well. Because like when I used to play Dota, it's fucking worst game. My life's fucking shitty idiots on my team dragging me down, and then after I'd finish, like 10 minutes later, Kate would be like, "How was Dota tonight?" It was pretty good.
Yeah,
you know, one.
They caught them in the right atmosphere, right? I was like, all of these surveys were taken after we had given the participants a bowl of ice cream and a hug.
Yeah.
When I played League, I mean, I had a lot of shitty games, but I don't think I ever reported them. Yeah, I just went and fumed off and like cooled down on my own. I never reported them. So if it's based off reported things, I feel like that's a minority.
That's what I was going to mention too, is the fact that, I mean, this just crosses all spectrums, that the majority of the time when people are enjoying something, like look at YouTube videos, for example. We're all YouTubers. We have a relation here. With a video that has like 10,000 views, it'll probably have something like, you know, as far as engagement is concerned, maybe like 500 to 600 likes, and then 20 or 30 dislikes, and then 50 comments. That's already just a tiny, tiny percentage. The majority of the people that watched it, maybe even close into that 95 to 99 percentile mark, were just like, oh yeah, I like this. But it's never enough to, I mean, the rarity of the comment that says something like, this was terrific, is that very, very small fraction of people that actually care enough to make that sort of thing known. And it's mostly, I mean, they're probably not even conscientious of this as they're doing it, but they're not really making an effort to be constructive about it. Because when you just say, hey, this is great, it's almost less valuable than a comment that says, hey, this was shitty. Because this was great just means keep doing this. And obviously, you can't just keep doing that because then you're losing out on the evolution of making things better. So, yeah, just interesting points there. I can also tell you guys about the guy that I sat next to when I was bumped up to first class on my flight to San Francisco that forced me to drink screwdrivers at 9:30 in the morning, if you want to hear about that.
Oh my god.
He forced you to, or you forced yourself to?
It was a mixture of 100% of the former and none of the latter. So I'm talking a lot in the last 15 minutes or so. Hopefully everybody enjoys that.
I'm texting, so whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you don't give a fuck. I was going to go to San Francisco at about 8:45 in the morning, flight direct to there from Salt Lake City. And they had oversold the flight, so they were out looking for volunteers, and I thought, I got time, sure, I'll do it. So I got bumped up to first class by way of voluntarily offering my flight on the overfilled seats, or on the overfilled flight. And I got moved into first class, sat next to an older gentleman who was, just... I'm trying to think of what the quintessential vibe was I got from him, because he was like your
Clint Eastwood.
He's like a mixture of Clint Eastwood and what's the name of the guy in Portal 2, Cave Johnson. It was like Clint Eastwood meets Cave Johnson, and they had a baby, and they named him Johnny Depp. This is a good mixture of all those things.
What the fuck are you talking about?
They named him Johnny Depp, Ryan.
His name was Johnny Depp. It was weird.
That was his name.
Mm-hmm. So I sat down, and I was just chilling there for a few minutes, and then he started talking to me. And this is now the kind of guy I very quickly realize who would very much love to let you know about everything that's going on. He was great, by the way. I don't at all want to give a negative vibe about him, but he just, he's like, you allow him to unload, and he's going to unload. So it begins...
You should always allow him to unload.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I always let old men unload when you're sitting next to him. That's just
Well, they're forcing
polite.
screwdrivers in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever.
Standard stuff for an Alaska Airlines flight. He begins the conversation by letting me know that his uncle just died, and he was in the room to see it. Like, he watched it happen, which is... horrifying.
Wasn't even in a hospital. It was just in the bathroom at the Denny's.
In the dining room with the candlestick.
You had too many screwdrivers.
Oh, Jesus.
You're next.
Oh, God. I have lost control of it. Anyway. So his uncle had just died. And he was flying to visit his sister to convince her to go with him to Europe and just live abroad for the rest of their lives. As a way to kind of just, escape the morbid reality of death surrounding them. And immediately, I just, that hits you like a goddamn truck when you think to yourself, I make a podcast about video games, and this dude is legitimately considering abandoning everything and going to live with his sister in Florence.
He's, running from death, literally running away.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I need to, go call my mom right now.
Yeah, maybe. That's what I'm hoping people
I just want a
get from this.
screwdriver.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm getting to the screwdriver part.
How many do you think he had before he got on the plane?
I think he's been awake for 6 days at this point. But, yeah, and then he just starts telling me all this amazing life story stuff. I mean, he was a combat medic. He, this dude's seen people die in his arms multiple times. That's just shit I'll probably hopefully never experience. And then the flight attendant comes up, and I've never sat first class before, by the way. I didn't realize that the warm towel thing was real. I thought that was just a myth that rich people made up. No, that's legit. And I didn't realize a warm towel could be so pleasant.
It is. It's nice.
I mean, I wish I had one now. My hands feel so cold. But...
You think this guy, not to discredit him, you think he was definitely telling you the truth about being a combat medic and everything? Or you think he was screwdrivers talking?
If he was lying, he's a great storyteller. He could make a living just talking to people in bars in Florence, Italy.
Maybe it fucking was Johnny Depp.
I bet.
Maybe they were filming
never
Fear
know.
and Loathing 2, and you were a part of it.
Oh my god. Should I go apply for an extra role?
You should do it.
You may be.
You already one is enough.
Yeah, they were probably filming on the plane. Let's be real. So at that point, yeah. So the flight attendant comes by and I order an orange juice, and he looks at me the way a disapproving father would look at you.
Oh, you wouldn't just
So,
drink
like-
that orange juice by itself, would you?
Yeah, I'm sitting next to him on the plane. He goes, "Vodka." Says it just like that, and I say,
Orange juice.
"Yeah." It's just, of course. Of course, I wasn't just gonna get orange juice, Mr. Combat Medic. No, that would never happen in my life. Never ever. So I start drinking screwdrivers at 9:30 a.m. in a first-class flight I was bumped up to on my way to San Francisco to give a presentation at GDC. About 3 or 4 in, we're into the point of his life stories where apparently he has an ex-wife divorced for about 17 years, and he's living in a cabin in Park City by himself, living off of 3 separate retirement funds, and he... It's just like... The amount of shit that I just was blown away by in a concentrated amount of time, not to mention the fact that I was tipping screwdrivers back like it was Independence fucking Day, and
Ryan was like, yeah, all right.
I can't even hope to aspire to the level of magnificence presented by this gentleman.
All I
And
have to say
I
is
wish-
that maybe he wasn't that good of a storyteller. You were just drunk.
And let me tell you something else. These guys don't get enough respect. Okay? You
Hey man, he was in
understand.
first class. He's not just like a crazy person.
He's got 3 fucking retirement
Yeah,
funds.
paid
man. What
for
else
by
is he gonna
retirement
do?
funds.
Oh.
Apparently. You ever like look, I'm not wishing ill on people, but whenever I get bumped from a flight or volunteer for something like that, just once I'm like, wouldn't it be crazy if that plane crashed
Yeah.
and I was supposed to be on it?
Yeah.
But everybody lived, of course. But whoa, that'd be one hell of a story, right?
Yeah. I wish you had just lied to me just now. This is just a podcast of lies.
You were like,
Lie.
Air Canada paid me $800 to not die in a plane crash.
I know, yeah. No, their vouchers are ridiculous. I was like, how can I not do this if I have the time to spend just sitting around in an airport? They give me like $300, 4 free meals, first class flight to Los Angeles. Like, it's fucking
Holy crap.
ridiculous. Yeah. So, A-OK. I recommend voluntarily giving up your seat when they have overbooked, because it's a good deal. Also, just plan trips so that you have a day to just waste in an airport. Because
Wouldn't it be shitty though if you bumped your flight and then the plane that you got
Don't.
on second crashed?
I was thinking the whole time he said that.
That would be so much worse if you're like, ah, shit.
Some Alanis Morissette bullshit right
Yeah,
there.
this is the time that I shouldn't have done that.
Like
Wasn't-
10,000 spoons, and all you need is a knife.
You're going down, you're like,
voucher.
well, isn't this ironic?
Yeah.
No voucher is worth dying in a plane. You're going down. You're like,
Well, isn't
they
this
could have
nice?
at least bumped it up to like $2,100. Then I'd feel better about this.
I'm more amazed by the amount of Alanis Morissette lyrics being spewed out by these
Everybody's
two over
just
here.
saying the same thing. Well, isn't this nice? Why are we even talking about this? This
Hey,
is a
video
game
games.
podcast.
So, you guys
For like half an hour, we've just been off on this tangent that makes no sense.
Hey, dude.
I like it.
I think
I like
it's
their stories.
vaguely related. So, GDC. Other than that, I attended. Actually, Rami gave a talk. Rami Ishmael, one of the co-creators of Lambeer, the developers of Nuclear Throne, gave a talk that's really cool as well. He's making something called GameDev.World, which is an outreach program designed to allow developers from other countries the opportunities to, gain access to what I didn't realize were, very English-centric tools. There's not
Right.
very much catered to outside English language, so that was pretty neat as well. Did a really good job. He's a great speaker, which probably surprises no one. And that was the majority of what I did. I went and I talked to Whitaker Trabella, who's developing
I like that guy.
a new one. His next one after Pivot. Oh, I'm gonna forget what it's called now. Oh no,
Ovid
I'm the worst.
totally changes the game.
Oh,
He's just gonna like interchange the letters within Pivot every now and then to make a new game.
Now you play as the obstacles.
Piloteer. That's what it was called. Piloteer. So it's a mobile game that he's pretty sure is going to come to Steam as well. It's like QWOP with jetpacks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
I like anything QWOP.
it was actually really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So it takes a lot of getting used to, of course, but he designed it as a game built around the idea that jetpacks really shouldn't be as easy to use as they are in most games. So, like, I think
I agree.
like Spelunky jetpacks, just the push of a button, like this.
Had it too easy.
Yeah, you know what? We've
years.
been fucking spoiled with jetpacks in games these days. I think it's
They bring
time
out the
for a
real
damn
shit.
change. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that was most of my GDC experience, apart from ordering shitty Chinese food and crying in my hotel bedroom.
Oh, I have a question for you, Bear.
Yeah.
So when you were drinking those screwdrivers on the plane, you're thinking, so I have like a talk to do, right? Was there like a feeling of dread building with every drink you took? And you were just like, I'm on this roller coaster, I can't get off?
You know what? I genuinely felt really prepared.
Or you were just good?
Yeah, I was good. I was
That's
good to
awesome.
go.
Well, I mean, you weren't like getting off the plane and giving the talk.
No. Yeah, I had like a.
I didn't know how long
day.
you had. You made it sound like it was the next day or something.
I kind of wish. I mean, that would be a much more sitcom-y experience for me to be
Would have been.
drunk at the pulpit at GDC.
I see you like sweating, just like, I gotta remember this.
What's kind of funny, you guys will see it too when eventually it's up on the vault. But what's kind of funny is I wrote jokes, and I was hoping as well as I could for those to land, and then I ended up fucking up
You
the
remember
presentation
them?
a couple of times. No, it's all
you just do
I've
it for
wiped
the
that
jokes.
completely from my memory now. I fucked up the presentation a couple of times, and I got way more laughs in just like the spur of the moment recovery shit, like exponentially more laughs, and then like the jokes I'd actually planned just completely fell fucking flat. There's absolutely
nope.
nothing.
You're naturally charismatic, I'm sure, in the moment. You just made it work.
Yeah, I think everything I plan just ends up being a terrible experience, and I have to save it by being charming.
You're just the most
Like
charming
that.
fellow.
Aw, you. Want a kiss?
Later.
Okay.
Not-
That's all the video gaming stuff, that we've been talking about for the past 30 minutes about our experiences with GDC and PAX East. We are all very excited to talk now about the sequel to Hotline Miami, published by Devolver Digital, made by Denaton Games. The direct sequel, Hotline Miami 2, came out on Steam on March 10th, I guess. Yeah. Yep. I played through the whole thing. I think Ryan played through the whole thing. I know Nick was just... no, you didn't?
I did the
No.
first act.
How far did you
I
get?
have played. Well, I'll tell you that right now. How long is it roughly? Let's say you were an average Hotline Miami player, which I'm assuming you might be.
Wow.
Is average an insult now? It sounds like you have some high expectations.
Is that wrong? It's like 7 to 8 hours or so.
All right,
Really?
I played about half of the game. Then I'd say.
Okay.
I'm at 3.
I'm at
It's-
5 so far.
It's a bit longer than the first one, which I was pleasantly surprised by as well. I think I want to hear from Nick first, because I think this is going to be interesting. I think we're going to have a
Really?
very interesting discussion.
I think we're
About
not,
Hotline Miami 2.
actually.
Oh, okay.
I think you have high expectations, and I'm going to let you down. But I'll
I
try
mean,
my
we
best.
just went over that, but yeah.
Yeah. So I came into Hotline Miami 2 expecting, well, not a lot, actually. I didn't really have very high expectations. I wasn't a massive fan of the first one. I like the mechanics of it. I think it's a solid game. I think it plays well. I love the aesthetics. I love the vibe of it. And I don't mind the violence, so don't say that it's because of that or anything. I just think that the message that ran through it, that they had to take it to like a meta level and make some kind of political statement about how narrative is unnecessary in games when the mechanics are strong, I didn't really think it needed to do that. But that's completely unnecessary when the mechanics are fun. If you don't want to talk about that point, you don't have to. So I went into Hotline Miami 2 saying, now how the hell are they going to make that message jive with a sequel? And then I realized it's actually like a sequel prequel, right? It kind of like jumps around a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
And I didn't play enough of the story to really see how exactly they addressed that situation. But mechanically, the game is still basically exactly the same, so I really don't have many complaints with it. The game feels fine. It's a little bit on the hard side, but if you played the first one, you'll probably do fine with it. It took me a little bit to get used to the controls again, and went from using the 360 controller back to the keyboard. I was very happy I did that. It's not really a great controller game, in my opinion, but once you get a hang of it again, it feels pretty smooth. The combos start flowing freely. The violence is everywhere, and it's a solid game.
The #1 review for Hotline Miami 2 Wrong Number on Steam is just that video, you know, the like I'm not a rapper one, where he goes, "Psych! That's the wrong number." Yeah.
Everyone's favorite GIF that they have no idea what the origin of it is. Now you know. That's the. I mean, well, you can just go to the Steam review page for that, but that's the one of the kid, you know, with his face melting off in shock at what his bro just said.
Oh, well, that's the one. It's good, man. It says it all right there.
It really does. Mathas, what do you think about it?
I am a little bit more negative of it than I think Nick is.
Oh, okay.
I liked the first one a lot. I thought it was really good. I didn't really pay too much attention to the story of the first one, so
I don't think anyone really did, and I think
really
a lot of people are getting ripped into it for that, or like
the mechanics of the second game are exactly the same as the first game most of the time. There are a couple of characters that play really differently. In particular, the ones that come to mind are the two duck wearing mask people, where you have to control two people. That fucking sucks, no matter what level it is. I don't think it's a mechanic at all.
I didn't see
it's
that.
Awful. But
I like those guys.
That's not my complaint. Again, the game plays mostly the same. What makes it harder and what makes it worse for me is that the levels are unnecessarily large, to the point where I get shot off the screen more than I care for. And it makes you're doing super well, you're going through this level, and all of a sudden some guy sees you that you can't see, and all of a sudden, bang, he shoots you and you're dead, and you have to start all over.
Scroll the viewpoint, though.
Sometimes it's too far away.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's obnoxious. And the thing with Hotline Miami 1 is that never happened. The game was built to deal with this it had smaller levels, and the AI was bad. And that was the point of Hotline Miami 1. You could kind of like trick the enemies and stuff. The AI is still bad in this one, but because there's still laser shots like they are in the first one, and if you can't see them but they can see you, you can just die and lose all your progress in the level so fast. And it's infuriating. And the level I just did, it's not really spoilers, you're just going up a big building playing as different characters per floor, was one of the hardest ones I've ever played, because each floor is fucking huge and they're constantly patrolling, and there's a ton of guys around, and if they see you or you cause noise and all of a sudden a bullet flies over and kills you, it's just over. It pisses me off. I think that brings the game way down.
Now, you can mitigate some of that stuff, though. I mean, the same way they can shoot you off the screen, you can shoot them off the screen. So if you kind of use cover effectively and just throw shots where you don't see dudes, sometimes you'll hit them.
Then you run the risk of attracting like the entire level at you.
Yeah. For the most part, I think it does provide you the means with which to concoct a strategy based on what you see. Because it doesn't really change it up. It's not like it's procedurally generated. You know, you can see, oh, that guy shot me from way over there. That's kind of bullshit, but now I know he's there.
I've had moments, and I don't know if it's the same for you, where certain AI characters placed in the world have reacted differently every time.
Yeah, there's a little wild card thing based on exactly how you interact. I think there's a little bit of variability. Yeah.
And I don't like the fact the levels. So I think it makes the game harder and not in a fun way. I think it's a frustrating level. It's still fun. I still have a positive outlook of it. I just think Hotline Miami 1 is better than Hotline Miami 2 is.
Okay.
See, I got frustrated a lot with Hotline Miami 1, which I really like that game, but I've been playing Hotline Miami 2 the same way I've been playing Hotline Miami 1, which is go out, take a step, get shot. Okay, don't do that. Right. Go out, you know, throw whatever weapon I have through the glass, hit this guy, he aggroes, he shoots me, like, we'll try that again. And just like doing basically trial and error puzzle solving. So I feel like my user experience has been pretty much the same with both games, although maybe it does manifest in different ways. I am getting shot from off screen a lot. And I also find that a lot of the time what I do is I just kind of like poke my head out for a second and I'm like, hey, I'm here. And then like 10 guys in varying
That's
intervals.
the most effective way to do it. Most
they
of the
like
time,
come
too.
through the doorway and you're just like tunk, 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 tunk. And when you do stuff like that, that feels pretty cheesy. And that doesn't feel like what I like the most out of Hotline Miami. But what I like the most out of Hotline Miami is just failing a lot and then getting that sensation when you finally beat the level of like, oh, I finally did it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think I like Hotline Miami 2 roughly as much as the original, although I don't necessarily disagree, and I haven't finished it yet, but I don't necessarily disagree with the complaints about game design. But I do think it's one of those games. This is maybe me projecting onto it a little bit, but I think it suffers a little bit from the success of the original, that because the original is so good and so many people like it so much, any changes that are perceived as negative in the sequel make the game seem bad instead of just not as good as the original. like a lot of the most prominent Steam reviews are negative, and I don't know if that means that they're actually negative, like they think it's a bad game, or if they think it's just worse than Hotline Miami 1.
Yeah.
Is there in the second one? I feel like the levels are a lot more narrow and a lot more focused. In the first one, it's been a while. There was a lot more options for you, wasn't there? Like you could go through a level multiple different ways.
Or I wouldn't even try to make the argument that Hotline Miami 2 is a lot more. You're saying Hotline Miami 2 is a lot more narrow?
Like the level design isn't as open and experimental as I'd like it to be. The one example comes to mind again, and you beat the game, right, Bear?
Yeah.
So you know what level I was talking about with the multiple floors and playing as the same character? Do you remember the one where you had to play as the guy who can only use his fists?
Yes.
There was no variability there. You had to go through that level in a very particular way in order to succeed. You couldn't experiment.
That was to help you, though, probably. Right?
Maybe, yeah.
It was frustrating because I could go through the level the same way every time, and every once in a while an AI would act completely differently than he did last time. And there was no other way for me to approach that particular AI, so I had to hope he was willing to play ball with me, or I was dead.
There were definitely levels that had a formulaic approach to them. I'm definitely not going to disagree with that. There were ones that I spent probably a good 45 minutes or so just, okay, so I've gotten steps 1 to 15 of the process, and now I just have to get to the final part.
There are definitely some open levels too, but I feel like they're a lot more
That's what I was going to say. I don't think it's a broad enough spectrum to where you could just say that this was generally more narrow than the first one.
It was pretty mixed.
And like you said, too, it's been a little while since we played Hotline Miami 1, but well, the thing was, interestingly enough, I didn't even really expect a sequel when I finished Hotline Miami. Did you, Ryan? Because I
I did, but by the time I finished Hotline Miami 2 had already been announced.
Okay.
Like, I played it probably like 6 months ago, and I beat it on Vita, which is why when Nick was like, I really prefer keyboard and mouse controls, I was like, yeah. Having played that on Vita, like tap on the screen to lock onto enemies, I was like, no, thank you.
I streamed the entirety of the first one, and I played it with a controller, and every single time I was live, everyone was just yelling at me, like, use the mouse and keyboard,
It really is.
And I didn't want to listen.
But they're right on that one.
No, they were, absolutely. I have egg on my face.
You can make do
Ryan.
with it,
But it was okay. I liked it a lot. I liked Hotline Miami 2 just as much as I liked the first one. I can definitely see where people are coming from with a lot of the complaints that people have. Mostly what I've seen is there's off-the-screen bullshit, which I don't even think I experienced enough of that to make it a point that I was angry about. I'm not in that room. I'm over here. I'm not physically there.
I wish you were, though.
Hi, Kate.
Hi, Kate.
Hey, Kate.
I love you.
I love you, too.
That's bullshit. She used to watch me.
Shit.
She used to watch me.
She did.
Now you're her new love. This is ridiculous.
When we didn't have Wi-Fi, we had to go down to like the lobby of our building where there's Wi-Fi, and we had like an hour, and she just downloaded like a bunch of your videos. So you don't get any ad revenue for that shit, Mathas. Fuck you.
God damn it.
So yeah, I was frustrated at times, but I just kind of took it as nature of the game stuff. It's hard.
Me too.
It's very difficult, but it's satisfying. It's just like Ryan said, like there's that feeling at the end of a stage. Even if they're just formulaic, you get to the point where, I don't know, this is going to be nerdy as hell, but like just imagine writing out a very long algebraic equation and getting to the answer, and it's like, wow, that was fucking satisfying. I had a good time with that.
You check the answer in the back of the book.
Mm-hmm.
You check the answer in the back of the book and it matches up. You've been like flying out in no man's land for like 15 minutes. You're like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the game is bad, because I do have a very positive opinion of it. I just think it is slightly below, in my opinion, the first one. I think the first one is not perfection, but of that particular style of game is better than what he tried to pull off in the second one. It's still good though. I still enjoy it. I still have fun. And you're right. When I beat a level, I freak out. I'm like, my hands are in the air. I'm like, yes, I fucking did it. I don't have to do it anymore. And there, that level of satisfaction is there. I don't like some of the bullshit that happens in the game.
If they were looking for a back-of-the-box quote from the Roundtable Podcast, I think we found one. In Hotline Miami 2 is just as satisfying as an algebraic equation. Or as algebra in general.
Like, it's, I don't know. It's weird to me to see the reaction to it, because it reminds me a lot, and some people on the show might disagree with this.
I know where we're
but
going already.
it reminds me a lot of Dark Souls 2.
I knew it.
Where when I like Dark Souls 2 a lot, I recognize that it has almost what I would consider to be some objective flaws compared to the original, but I think it's marked too harshly in comparison to the original. Whereas like the original Hotline Miami is judged in comparison to other games, which it's better than average. Hotline Miami 2 is compared on a rubric with its predecessor, which is probably one of the best indie games to come out in the past few years. So people come out with, they're already primed to have like a negative reaction to it, I think, just because expectations are so high after the success of the original.
Agreed.
I almost don't even get what there is not to like about it. If you like the first one, it's basically the exact same formula, right? So it's just like an expansion pack.
Oh, I think that's kind of what he's getting at, is it's like he's saying if this was a completely fresh experience, people I think would be overwhelmingly positive about it. But now that there's something to compare it to on such a linear scale, it's just like, well, this was so much better in the last one, therefore it's a glaring flaw now.
So do you think they would have gotten off better to have just announced this as, instead of a standalone game, just as like an expansion pack to the original, or like a DLC kind of thing?
Yeah. That's kind of what I'd considered it, honestly. Like,
I mean, that's a better way of looking at it, I guess. Sure.
I mean, what's the difference fundamentally?
Really
Nothing,
isn't
really.
much.
Not much.
It's just a marketing thing. It's words.
Yeah, sell more that way, I guess. You probably do sell more selling a sequel than selling an expansion pack.
They really didn't. I mean, yeah, they didn't change enough to fundamentally alter the way you play the game in any way, shape, or form, and it's a lot more of the same. I mean, they kind of just made it better. In their, like in the developmental sense, they looked at it and they said, what can we change to improve the experience? And that probably just ended up being more guns and trippier, more psychedelic shit.
And sweet fucking music some more, which I love.
Oh, God, yeah,
Oh,
the soundtrack is insane.
Actually, that's the one thing I think is actually better. I think I like the soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack
more
is
to the sequel.
fucking great. It's so good.
It's, top tier. Go buy it, the whole thing. I'm getting content ID match left and right, but that doesn't matter. Just go
that's what I
get the
figured.
music.
Yeah, I've gotten 3. I've gotten 3 content. They've dropped 2 of them so far.
That's nice.
So
Yeah, that is nice.
I had to remove the songs. I didn't ever.
Oh, really?
publish
Oh,
video
good.
with that condition. Yeah, it was. Well, it was. I mean, the one of them was the very last episode, so it was just the credits music, and so. I sound like this all the time. Oh, this is what I thought about Hotline Miami 2. I hope guys enjoy it. But yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think we boiled it down to the point where the big, huge problems that people are boiling it down to are really not even that bad. They're just, they were better in the first one, which I don't even necessarily agree with, but I am like a 9 out of 10 opinion on Hotline Miami 2. I had a fantastic experience with it. I absolutely recommend it. It was, if you like the first, I mean, this is such a cliche for sequels anyway, but if you like the first, you're going to fucking love the second one.
I think if you have a game that's difficult and you're already designed to die a lot, anything that makes it feel like those deaths are unfair is magnified in people's perception, which I think
those games, sorry.
I think it's part of what's causing maybe like a little bit more of a magnitude of a reaction negatively than I would have expected. Not to say that those opinions are necessarily invalid. Compared to the original, it's probably like a 6 or a 7. But compared to like the average, it's at least from the 3 hours I've spent so far, I'd put it up there with like the 8s or the 9s. Like there's very few games that I play for Let's Look At where I'm like, I'm gonna beat the whole thing. But with Hotline Miami 2, I know there'll be a day like I'll be bored and I'll be like, okay, I'm just gonna put like another 4 hours in Hotline Miami 2 and beat it. And I've been having a good time so far.
Cool. Next on the list is still came out a couple weeks ago. Still number 1. Last we checked on the Steam overall top sellers list.
It's crazy.
And yeah, it
awesome.
seriously is like, people aren't really surprised by this, but this is insane when you think about it. This is City Skylines, made by Paradox. It was developed by Paradox as well? Or no, it was, Colossal Order. Yep, that's the one.
Colossal Order, and published by Paradox.
Published by Paradox. Sold 250,000 copies in the first 24 hours, which that is even more mind-boggling. That is absolutely insane.
So happy for him, too.
It's,
we were
over
talking,
it's over 500,000 now, too.
Yeah, total, it's over 500,000. We were talking a little bit before the show. A lot of us are pretty familiar with Paradox, we didn't realize that Paradox really hasn't had that blockbuster title, even though they appear to have quite a bit of prominence. They haven't really had a game that's sold to a tremendous degree. So this is pretty awesome for them as a publisher.
Stuff like Crusader Kings at EU4. Crusader Kings just crossed 1 million sales like last December or something like that.
Very recently.
But that's with it being out since like February of 2012. So it took like 2.5 years basically to get to that 1 million sales. So like 1 million sales in that is not bad, obviously, by any stretch of the imagination, but like, you know, some of those are in Humble Bundles, a lot of them are in Steam sales, et cetera, et cetera. So for a game like this to just come out of nowhere and be like, we sold 500,000, not out of nowhere, but we sold 500,000 copies in like a week, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't hear much about it before it released either. I didn't see a ton of marketing. I mean, like, okay, so we're obviously going to be comparing it to the remake of SimCity, aka SimCity 5. They marketed the hell out of that thing. You couldn't walk down the street without seeing SimCity plastered on a bus. Like, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars spent on marketing the new SimCity game.
Yeah.
And this was just kind of a... I don't want to call it guerrilla marketing, but it was, you know, it wasn't even really, like, they didn't try very hard to push this forward and say, like, look at this is the SimCity you've all been waiting for. That's just what happened. Yeah, exactly.
It was what they did, if I remember correctly, is they did a couple of Reddit AMAs that got a few thousand upvotes. They were front page a couple of times. But the big thing they did, which was the smart thing, is they allowed YouTubers and streamers to play it a week prior to release. And they gave a ton of YouTubers and a ton of Twitch streamers out just to play it. And the marketing was just the game being good enough for the Twitch streamers to want to play it all the time and for the YouTubers to want to do series on it all the time. And so that was at the forefront of everybody's feed for a week before it launched. And then people had seen so much of it, they're like, I need this game, and they just picked it up. And I think that was really, really smart.
Combined with that, I think in many ways SimCity did their marketing job for them.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of scummy to say it, but their positioning has basically been like SimCity put in like all this money for marketing and had this crazy like clout brand name, everyone's aware of it. And then it came out and it sucked and it generated even more press. And really all Paradox had to do to at least get a lot of people in press interested was be like, we're going to make it not bad. And everyone's like, I know that game, and I know it's bad, so I'll try this one. I wanted it to be good, and I'll try this. In many ways, EA's marketing budget that they spent on that ended up benefiting Paradox more than like anything Paradox did for themselves, except develop, like, support development of a great game.
Yeah. There was a Vice article posted pretty recently about that, too, about how... I mean, okay, so... That's just kind of the elephant in the room as far as the developers talking about the success of the game is, well, you don't want to say, thank God Maxis fucked it up so hard, otherwise we wouldn't have made so much goddamn money from this redo. But I mean, okay, so, you know, Maxis in Emeryville shut down very recently. Like, this is kind of in direct congruence with the hundreds of thousands of copies that City Skylines is selling, and you know they feel bad about it. Obviously, the Colossal Order feels bad about that, but at the same time, yeah, it's like they laid the framework for everything that people wanted, and then they didn't deliver on. They had so many good ideas. Maxis did. They had a really great outline for the city builder genre, and they had like they had everything in their pockets, and then they just kind of walked by. This is gonna sound awful, but they walked by a homeless guy and they were like, "You want this design for a multi-million-dollar idea?" And we were like, "Oh, that's great, okay, thank you." And then they went and did it.
I have to imagine that like the broad concept meetings for the planning of City Skylines must have been so easy. They just keep up like reviews of SimCity, and they'll be like, "Okay, what are people complaining about? Always online DRM. We're not going to do that. That's stupid.
Small
cities are too small."
That was the thing too. Is so many of them were like, "Let's just fucking not do that," and we're going to be so much better.
Like, release it on Steam instead of on our own proprietary platform.
Simulated citizens actually live in a particular house and go to a particular job and don't just change houses depending on where they can get to.
I can't believe how much I love that. I am so obsessed with so many of my little dudes running around. And like, we'll just watch them for like 5 minutes as they go from place to place.
Man,
Did you?
Someone tweeted, and they're like, "My toilet doesn't work." And then I clicked on their name because
in the game they tweeted it.
They tweeted. So I clicked on them, and they were in a park. And I was like, let's make that up. I like checked my water and stuff, and it was all good, and like the sewer lines were all hooked up. And she's like, my toilet doesn't work. I'm like, you're making that shit up for attention. You're at the park. Like, how can I get
Why is that the mayor's responsibility
I
to
was
fix
just
the
gonna
citizen's
say,
toilet?
There's like a citizen out on bath salts running around the park who somehow has access to your Twitter handles. And like,
I need the mayor.
My toilet don't work.
she's like squatting over a park bench.
Look, man,
That's
don't
hot.
joke about that. The poop apocalypse can happen in that game. It happens a lot if you don't pay attention. That's the worst.
I love City Skylines. I think it's an easy contender early in the year for one of the best games of the year. I've put in like 20, 22 hours, and most of that is actually off camera. Because it's one of those games where it's almost like if you had like a blueprint for a house, and then you got like 80% of the way through building the house, and over the course of building the house, you learned that you
have no idea how to build a house.
So I learned that you got to put the roof on like straight instead of putting it on a weird jaunty angle. And then you design a new house, you get like 82% of the way through, and you're like, I'm an idiot, I got to blow it up and do the whole thing. I do wish it was a little bit more forgiving with traffic woes, because as somebody who is an idiot when it comes to traffic,
I can't. Yeah, I'm bad too.
It's the ultimate bottleneck for everything. City, 5,000, 10,000, going all right. The first time I expand outside of my first planned city borders, traffic, dead bodies, can't deal with it. And I look at the garbage like map, and it's like trucks are getting everywhere. Like the efficiency is high, and like the landfill usage is fine. There's lots of incinerators, but like garbage piles up and people move away. Dead bodies pile up, people move away. And I'm like, it either needs to have a clearer. I think it would benefit from having a clearer way of communicating that, to be like, no, actually, this is not green. This is fuck you red right now, because people are moving away because their garbage isn't getting taken care of. Or almost like a tooltip that just popped up and was like, hey, like, here's why your shit's not working. Your roads are stupid. Here's how to make them not stupid. So you don't have to like Google urban planning concepts, hierarchy of roads, and like self-teach yourself that much. Which, admittedly, I have had the motivation to do to try to make my cities work better. But sometimes I'm just like, fuck it, I'll just put 30 landfills instead.
It's hard because there's so many different things that are causing the traffic problems. Outside of poorly planned roads, if you have too many garbage like landfills next to each other, then all the garbage like trucks are coming from one spot, trying to go to one spot, clogging up that entire road, coupled with the fact that if that's in an industrial area where imports are trying to come in off the highway, it's clogging that area up, preventing the trucks to get into the residential zones. The trash is going to build. It's like, it's this whole chain of events that you have to kind of fucking figure out. So the point where I'm like, I spread out my landfills and incinerators now, so there's like no garbage pile up anywhere. So there's no... I used to do it all in one spot, but that causes so much traffic. That was a terrible decision.
Aren't those all kind of the majesty of the point of the whole genre, though, figuring out all those nuances? Because, I mean, as frustrating as it might be, that's kind of what you sign up for when you're interested in playing something like that. And I kind of embrace that idea in a way.
I do, and I don't, because, like, I'm playing a city builder. At times I find myself being like, this is just a little bit too much traffic simulation for me.
Right.
Like, my thing with the city builder is almost like playing a casual game, which I know is not where a lot of people are going to come from there. And I've seen people complaining that the game is too easy. So maybe I'm just like completely an outlier in the other.
I get that a lot in my comments. Like, you're just an idiot. This game is
Paradox.
easy. And I'm like,
God, no.
I'm sorry.
I hope not, because I'm bad.
Die-hard Paradox players are geniuses.
That's also true.
When it comes to stuff they do. There are people like Arumba, who we play EU4 with all the time, and Quill. They have like thousands of hours in EU4, and there are still people who are like, well, if you want to like really get good at the game, don't watch Arumba. Like, he's kind of an idiot. And meanwhile, he's streaming for like 3 hours, making Excel spreadsheets to like test mechanics in the game and stuff like that. It's a very, very smart group of players and consumers, which is cool. But I do find, like, for me, it's like, I want to watch the population numbers grow. And what I want to have happen is like, here's a problem in the city, I'm going to diagnose it. Like, there's buildings burning down. Put down a couple fire stations. Then watch the numbers grow again. Yeah. Like, that's largely where that, like, it's kind of meditative for me. What instead ends up happening is I expand, and then people move in, and then they're like, nobody's taking out the trash, and I put down like landfills and incinerators, and then they're like, nobody's taking out the trash though. So I just find myself kind of being like, I don't know where I went wrong, but where I went wrong is like these roads. It's like the base of your city is broken, so I'm just like, demolish the whole thing, rebuild it from the ground up, because it's the easiest way to do it.
You want to make pretty cities, but sometimes pretty cities are like terrible when it comes to traffic, and you're just like, well, maybe I should grid this area because it'll work a little bit better. But I really wanted to make this cool designed road, and now that's going to fall apart because, which would be good if they had a separate mode, whereas like easy traffic mode. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, they released a couple of, I mean, you might as well just call them training simulators for City Skylines. They called Cities in Motion. So that was mostly focused around the idea of building mass transit systems that were effective and efficient. Also, if Aruma is an idiot, I must legitimately have a mental handicap, because
That's the standard, though, that a lot of these players have.
Yeah.
It's like there's like one good EU4 player, and it's the guy that can play as the smallest nation in the world, like one province, and take over the whole world within 400 years, which nobody else, well, some people can do, but it's extremely difficult, you know? And that's like with cities. Quill has incredible knowledge of like infrastructure and organization and road design and stuff like that, so there's that standard that people kind of aspire.
I watch him, I feel like I'm watching an actual architect do city planning. It's ridiculous.
Meanwhile, I feel like I'm finger painting. I'm like,
Right, but isn't it kind of incredible, though, that there's such breadth in who can enjoy what this... Because I played it basically as just a sandbox. I turned on the free money option because there's all these extra options and modes and mods, of course. And I just kind of went to town with it, and it was just kind of having fun making the dumbest city I could for the sake of just having a laugh.
No, absolutely, dude. I built fucking massive ramps because I could, and it was great. And it was horrible optimization of my spot of land, but it was fucking cool to have like 3 ramps that intersected one another like that.
It's really cool doing, and I like the transit system, being able to build metro lines and stuff, and then watching the traffic. Yeah, it's very satisfying to watch the traffic alleviate and all of a sudden watch like piles of people just going into the metro line or using the train station that I built on the outskirts of town. I don't use the bus lines anymore. Those things.
No, I was going to say traffic. Like being able to paint your own bus routes and then watch those and realize that you painted routes that ran into each other 4 times at the same intersection.
You should play Cities in Motion. Yeah. You want that stuff. That stuff gets... Like, I looked at it, I was like, I put a lot of time into Cities in Motion. My brain feels like I put a lot of time into Cities in Motion. It's 3 hours total. Because, I would just be like... the way you place bus routes is actually, like, kind of similar, but then you can set, like, the bus timetabling, and then you can, like, buy different models of buses, and you have your buses link up to, like, metro stations that link up to C buses, and then... People will be like, I can't get to work in 11 minutes. And you're like, you look at the commute time, it's like 13 minutes. You're like, oh, fucking God.
You gotta fix that shit.
It's the same, like you can tell, I think in City Skylines, it does help to have a baseline in Cities in Motion, not to be like, this shortcuts or expedites my learning process, but this, like, it makes me feel like Colossal Order has a background in transportation, which is why City Skylines to me feels less like SimCity, sort of, and more almost like Transport Tycoon style with city building elements attached to it, which is fine, and I think it's good. When I call it like not a city builder-ish, I don't mean it as a derogatory thing. It's a really good game, but I find like 80% of the time fucking around with traffic, making roads. There's a reason that on our City Skylines, 90% of the posts are like, check out this intersection I built, and it's always like weird clover leaves and shit like that.
Intersection porn, that's their
it is
secondary subreddit.
Yeah, a little bit.
That game, for me, is all about designing roads, because the other stuff is easy. I mean, the other stuff is basically like, problem, buildings burned down, build a fire station. The only thing that's not intuitive is what's holding me back. It's still very good, though.
Well, I have to say, too, coming at it as someone who hasn't played a lot of any of this stuff, really. I'm not huge into strategy games. I'm not huge into city builders. I have played a bunch of SimCity back in the day, but it's pretty frictionless getting into it. It's fairly accessible. The UI is not overly complicated. Within 20 minutes, I think I pretty much had a basic handle on how to at least set up stuff. And then I, spent another hour with it, and I was like, all right, well, I get it now. Let's scrap all that and start over. And I felt like I was at least on the road to now. In the next time I start over, I think I'll have a plan for if I want to actually take it seriously. Because the first times I was just messing about.
You get better every time. Like, every one of my cities has gotten better Although sometimes I just get better at realizing when they're fucked. So instead, like, I would have like my first city. I was like, I've got 30,000 people, and all the buildings are like burning down, and people are like, nobody's picking up the dead. Now I get to like 8,000, and I get to like 8,000 now, and I'm like, oh, this isn't gonna work. And I just blow it up. Like
even screwing around, I still felt like I learned stuff. Like I had infinite money, and through that, I still got the point. So.
I learned not to put my water pump downriver from both my sewage treatment facility and the landfill because that's just a thing someone would think is a good idea.
People hate drinking garbage juice, as it turns out.
It's weird, right? Yeah.
I saw something amazing. It was like a Dutch Twitch streamer, and he built a huge dam, and there's like realistic-ish like fluid dynamics. So if you build a dam, it'll actually like create overflow, and it'll also create like not like a desert, but I think you know what I mean. Like it'll block off water from reaching certain land. So he built like this huge dam, and then it created like the riverbed underneath it was dry. So he just built like more city on top of the dry riverbed. And I was like, this guy's a genius.
It's pretty sweet.
It worked too.
I've seen people build a dam and flood their city.
Yeah, that's always the best. Everybody has one moment where they build a dam, and then the water just pours over one of their districts.
I think that's what you guys really liked, right? Was the attention to detail in general. I mean, between things like that there's interactions you wouldn't expect. The fact that you can name everything. I know with Dankest Dungeons, that's one of the things you loved most. You can name all the people and the cars, and
you can like paint your own districts and just section out your city the way you would want to. It gives you so much freedom to just invest yourself completely into it. It's awesome.
There's still no reason not to make weed legal everywhere, though.
Oh
it's
yeah,
only benefit.
Yeah.
Seriously.
There should be more of those options, actually. I really like the idea of being able to have a lot of different ways that you can affect like the culture of your city
Mods,
and have it be unique.
That's what mods need to do.
Yeah.
I love that they like mod support.
Embrace that.
Yeah, exactly. They're taking. I mean, again, it's just like an opposite approach to the way that Max has handled it. Was like, please mod our game, do whatever you want to it, and we will showcase that.
The first mod I downloaded and uses is automatic demolishing of burned down buildings and abandoned buildings. I'm like, I don't have to worry about that shit anymore.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Spend like a whole episode's just like click, 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 click.
Yep.
Then like someone else builds right on top of it, and they just go out of business right after. I'm like. Literally, in one of the last episodes I did, I had like 40% of my city was like across a bridge over the river. I just de-zoned the whole thing. I was like, this half of the city is fucked. So you just de-zone it, and everybody goes out of business. You lose like half your population. Like, I'll rebuild it from scratch.
Yeah,
you just paint that district as just like Fucksville, USA, and just tell everybody not to go over there.
The best thing I can say about City Skylines is that if somebody with the intelligence of Quill put out a book, like an ebook that was like 30 pages, $5, and it was like how to build good roads in City Skylines, I would buy it. And I would sit there, like I would be in bed and I'd be reading. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to try that out in my city. Because I feel like I really want to, I love the experience of getting like 0 to 30,000. Then it just gets too much for me to handle. When I have to build my own highway off-ramps and interchanges and stuff like that, it becomes too much for me to handle, and the city falls apart under its own weight. So if you're watching out there, get that shit done on Kindle.
Write a book, yeah.
Write a 30-page book about how to build good roads.
You're bumping up the requirements now. It went from 5 to 30 real quick.
No, $5.
Oh, $5. Oh, okay, cool, yeah. Gotcha. That's reasonable.
And then 30 Kindle pages, which is actually like 4 pages in reality.
It's like 150 words.
It's pretty PAX. There's probably something up already.
Make sure there are pictures as well.
But I just read game facts on my Kindle. I have to read it on my phone. My phone doesn't have the digital ink. It's harder to, it doesn't get into the brain the same way. They've done cognitive scientific tests.
You got to crack your Kindle, yo. You got to get to that root Kindle.
I'm going to start playing Hotline Miami on it.
Yeah, I think I'm just terrified of City Skylines, honestly. I was terrified of it before I even booted up. I swear to God, I booted it up 4 times, got to the first bit that was like, let's build some roads, and I said, nope, and played something else.
Really, I didn't find it all that intimidating. I'm very easily intimidated when it comes to that stuff.
I think what I was probably expecting was, like a little, whatever the fuck his name is, a little paperclip from Microsoft Office to show up.
The green hair guy from the SimCity on the SNES to come to his pointer and start.
I wanted him to show me, like, this is, okay, I'll hold your hand, and then we build the straight road off the highway. No, don't run. No, come back. It's okay. It's okay.
Let's build our first city together.
See, that's what I need is, in my brain, I'm like, 2-lane road, then later upgrade it, 4-lane road, 6-lane road. And like 6-lane road should be able to handle everything.
That
and then
destroys everything.
Well, it destroys everything on the sides, yeah. But like that's frustrating. But
Mm-hmm.
when I build like a 6-lane road and there's still traffic problems on it, I'm like, what do I do? Like it doesn't make any
I
sense.
learned, man, the magic that I've learned through comments, surprisingly, is on ramps, off ramps, because those do not create red lights. So
I'm
people
trying to build a city that is just no lights. So I've been building like custom roundabouts, not even using the roundabout tool. I'll just be making circular one-way roads. But if you ever miss your turn, you actually have to go onto the highway and drive back to the start. But luckily they're AI, so you know they don't.
They're not gonna tweet at you about that, right? They're not gonna. I mean,
on
can
the
you
motherfucking
imagine?
highway again because a fucking man is an idiot.
Then put a toll on it too.
Oh, that's perfect. Then why are you 45 minutes late? Well, I missed the turn to our house, so I had to drive off.
It was either that or break down the barrier between us and the highway.
I got a question. Those of you who played more of this than I have, is there any kind of weather simulation? Like, can you make a Boston simulator where you get totally
There's
No
no
mod. I'm sure that mod's gonna happen.
I would love disasters. I think that'd be really cool to add to the game and maybe
It's weird that that's been like a glaring factor that people have been upset about. It's like there's no Godzilla, there's no hurricanes hitting the town.
SimCity made it such a thing. They really like marketed the disasters a lot. But I was just thinking the idea of managing roads is complicated enough. But why not add clearing out all the snow on top of it? Because you don't have enough problems as a city planner.
Right.
You better build enough people, have enough people to man the plows.
Maybe that'll be in the second one. Who knows?
Not ready for
You
that.
try.
I know they
man.
said if it does well, they definitely want to do a bunch of expansions for it, and it's probably doing way better than they expected. So I expect.
Talking about it right
great
now.
future ahead.
Yeah, talking about it right now makes me want to play.
I know.
now.
I'm surprised that I have 17 hours in the game right now, and every time I boot it up, time's still just. I'm like, oh my god, it's been a half hour. I got to stop this episode. I'll be back tomorrow.
I seriously still. I mean, I play it so slowly. I recognize that I'm just really awful at it, but I still have fun with it, which is that speaks
Same.
volumes of it, right?
Yeah.
Is the fact that I suck hard at the game, but I still want to play it more, and I really appreciate that you can kind of go at your own pace for the most part. There's ways that encourage the people that can go from 0 to 50,000 people in 5 minutes, and there's people like me who can spend like 6 hours going through the basic stuff and just kind of being like, okay, so I'm just going to watch this develop for a little while, check things out, see how it plays out, and then I'll slowly, start to build over here, and then I'll make a bridge over this way, and then bridges in and of themselves are a terrifying element because that's like, okay, now this means that everything I just did no longer applies, so I have to start from square one basically.
I still
I'm
don't
afraid,
get bridges.
I'm still
Yeah.
afraid to expand to the other side of the highway. Like I bought that piece of land on the other side of the highway.
I couldn't figure it out. I straight up
want
fucking
it.
couldn't figure out how to do it. Like I was trying so hard, and I don't know how still. And I'm sure someone could explain it to me, but
One of the
Whenever
things I
I
don't like
see,
about
like-
the game. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
One of the things I don't like about the game
So
is like if you
polite.
try and drag a road or anything over another road, like you have to get it perfectly so that the little
Yeah,
support
that
beams-
was the
and the
thing.
game doesn't automatically do that. It should. The game
That
just
was actually my
automatically-
biggest complaint, if anything, was
It's
I
so
spent so
annoying.
much time trying to find out how to put the roads properly, and it started to get a little frustrating, actually. But that's a pretty small gripe in the scheme of things.
Maybe there's a mod that fixes it by now. Fuck
Maybe.
knows?
probably by the time we started talking about that, in between now and then, there was a mod made to fix that.
Yeah.
There's a sweet first-person mod. Everyone should get that. You can walk around on the ground. It kind of looks
Oh,
like you're
that's
inside
cool.
a GTA 3 or something.
Nice.
Kind of experience the
Seen
ambience of your city.
screenshots. Seen screenshots of that. It looks good.
No pillars mod. I think this is it right here.
My
You actually got
problem,
it well.
Found it.
Yeah. No
My-
pillars right here. Yeah, you can build roads without pillars. Yes.
Whenever I
Well
see
done.
like those intersections, people are like, "Oh, that's a fucking sexy intersection, dog." And it's always like curved ramps and it looks like a Celtic cross or something like that. All of my highway intersections that I built myself are just. This is like the highway. This is the intersection.
I don't think the pop filter is the best prop to use to display.
I got long arms, I guess.
Yeah.
But they all look like T's. So I just end up putting red lights on the highway. And then I get pissed because I'm like, why is everyone so slow?
I'm just looking at one of the developers' assets, one of their screenshots for just, this glorious city, all kinds of curvy roads and everything. I'm just like, God, I am never going to fucking do that ever
Oh,
in
yeah,
my life.
man.
I could follow a tutorial step by step, and I'd still find a way to fuck
Oh,
this up.
shit. Okay. 21 hours ago on our city Skylines, 4,800 upvotes. If you're having traffic problems, I feel bad for you, son. I'm a traffic engineer and I made you a guide. 21 screenshots annotated here. This is exactly the shit that I need to be reading right now.
Wow, yeah, look at that.
So I'm going
for
there.
that to rhyme, and it never did.
I know, that was really disappointing. But
I've downloaded probably like 20 to 30 mods that are just variant of different buildings. So the buildings in the game look a lot different now, which is nice.
I want to stress to people that hear all of this and they're like, I'm super not into what you guys are talking about. You don't have to do any of this stuff. You just want to mess around and have fun with it. You get what you want to put into it. You could just make nothing if you want.
Make
a spider web of highways that never go anywhere, trap a dude on the wrong side of a river, and see if he can get out of the maze. I did that last night.
In sandbox mode, yes. And there's nothing wrong with playing on sandbox mode. But if you play with like monetary and population concerns, you are going to end up with you're gonna hit a snag, and you'll be playing for like 2 hours. You'll be like, "What's this Northernlion guy talking about?" And then you'll see a little garbage icon pop up, and you'll be like, "Oh, what's that?" There's not enough. Okay, I'll make more garbage trucks, and then like 5 icons will pop up, and you'll crank the budget up. Then like 100 will pop up, and they'll turn red, and then people will start dying and leaving the city.
I'm just saying, for people that don't want to bother with that, you don't have to bother with that.
Even in sandbox mode, people are going to be dying.
They're always dying.
This 99 problems post, I don't see it, man. You have to link
It's like it's the third post
on City Skylines.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yep, you're right. Gotcha. Oh my God, this is amazing.
So I think overall, I mean, you didn't need to hear it from us. City Skylines, it's fantastic. It's the city builder. I think anybody that wants to play city builder has their eye on and probably already owns. So
yeah,
it's fantastic. It's getting even better. The mods are getting awesome. We just found 2 cool things as we were talking about it here in the podcast. So A+, good stuff there. And that's gonna lead us into yet another fantastic installment of Nick's Weird Games. Can I hear the punk rock version of the Nick's Weird Games theme song?
Wait, before you start, are you guys cool with a PS3 game today? Can I mix it up?
Oh yeah, sure. I don't care about the platform, man. You got it.
All right,
it's gonna be BioShock.
Go nuts.
BioShock.
Back.
All right.
Nick's Weird Games. Yeah. Nick's Weird Games. Hey, fuck you. Nick's Weird Games. He's got some games and he doesn't give a shit. He's got some games. Here he is. He's gonna sit.
Yes.
Seriously, you make me not want to come back every time because I just hear this shit going on in my headphones, and I'm like, I want to just let him go. See how long this goes on.
That's amazing.
All right.
I'm ready.
You guys are ready for this? I'm very curious, actually, to know how many, if any, of you have seen this game before, especially since it's a more current thing, whereas the other ones have been kind of like 1 generation removed. So today, we've got Africa.
I know why you brought this up.
Yeah, Mathas knows because
God.
This came up on Twitter the other day, and I was like, hey, I've got that game. So this is a kind of like a Pokemon Snap, but in Africa. You're sent off to do some photography missions, and you basically just go photograph nature and wildlife, and there's actually like real photography elements to it.
So we gotta give the audio people some love here. We got the front cover, beautiful landscape portrait with a stunning zebra.
It's very high def because photography.
Spelled with a K, which it gives it a lot of flavor just with that consonant change.
Yeah,
right there.
True.
Well, it's rated E10 also for mild blood and mild violence.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's different than what I was expecting then.
Well, nature's good violent place, man.
Nudity?
No, I mean, you said Pokemon Snap in Africa, so I just got, like, really pleasant thoughts from that.
No, it's like
motherfuckers made
naturalism.
Oh.
This is like the real deal. There's gonna be lionesses hunting antelopes and shit. Like, there's actually shit going down.
That's who's the developer there?
Rhino Studios.
It's Natsume.
Oh, Natsume, okay.
Partnered with National Geographic, so you know there's an air of legitimacy.
Legit then, yeah.
So it's a stunning safari experience, and this is the back now that I'm reading. Explore the wildlife of Africa in this revolutionary wildlife photography adventure. Africa's animals and plants are all rendered in stunning photorealistic detail. They're close. They're pretty good on it. You'll use real-world photography equipment and techniques to take on challenging assignments that have you capturing everything from a charging herd of wildebeests to lions on the hunt. And there's over 60 animals to find and more than 100 missions to complete.
I want to hear from the professional botanists out there how much real photorealism we're experiencing out of Africa.
You can earn money to purchase licensed Sony camera equipment, and there's an innovative photo grading system that teaches you the skills of a professional photographer.
Oh,
And
hold up. You can't just dance right past the you can earn money to buy licensed Sony photo equipment, man.
What's wrong with that?
Was this like a system seller? Like they put this shit on their keynote speech? Like when they announced the PS3, they're like, check this shit out. You can buy like a Sony fucking Coolpix in Africa.
Actually, you're not super far off on that. I remember this being an E3 thing, and they were like, this is like a revolutionary, weird game that probably not a lot of people get into, but those that do, it's cool. And they were pretty much right. Thing is, though, it was very hard to get into. Not just, like, if you're not familiar with photography, it's not that. It's just the way they laid out the game was very unintuitive. And I remember spending a long time on the first couple missions, and they would really mess with you if you just did anything slightly off. So I don't think I spent more than maybe 2 hours with it, but I hardly got anywhere in the game, unfortunately. Did you play it, Mathas?
Yeah, I actually had the game as well, and I have a very similar experience to you. I remember also really hoping it was going to be open world, and you get to like go around and do like get missions and photo. But no, it was like levels, and you had to do. I remember one mission I had to like photograph a cheetah running at like 60 miles per hour, and that if I was like off. Yeah, whatever it was. And if you fucked it up, it was like, mission fail. Sorry, you got to try this again. You have to make sure he's running exactly the right speed.
It's such a good idea. Just, like, give us the Far Cry treatment. Let us actually nuts and take some pictures, and I think this would be fantastic. I think they should do this again, properly.
I would love, like, an open world kind of just photographic adventure game. That would be such a cool, neat idea, but it was just boring the way they did it.
Just give it an open world Cabela's Big Hunter with a camera. That's really what we need.
They have the infrastructure already set up. Like, just let us shoot them with photos instead of guns.
Yeah.
That's the message we want to share. From your friends at Roundtable Podcast, put down the gun, pick up a camera.
Plus it's Hotline Miami, too.
Yeah, then just beat the shit out of people.
Blood and guts will shoot out of everybody.
That's right.
I just want you all to know, Soda Drinker Pro favorited my tweet for Roundtable Podcast mode in the new game, so it better happen.
Well, way to spoil the content in our podcast ahead of time, MathasGames. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of the Roundtable Podcast. You can support the show yourself for less than a cup of coffee a month. A cup of copy is, if you make copies and put them in a cup, you got some other problems going on.
That's like 10 cents. Yeah. We can't hold to that. That's all going to get eaten up by fees.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You would cost us more money than you would be giving us if you gave us the cost of a couple of copies every month.
Make sure you send Nick sticky stuff.
Yeah. Oh, don't do that, actually, but do send him weird games. Patreon.com/roundtable. You can check us out on iTunes. Our RSS feed is available if you check out our tweets. I don't really know where to post that to make it available. I put it on the tweets anyway every time, though. SoundCloud, you can actually download the MP3 files from there as well. If that's something you prefer, put it on whatever device you want to listen to it on. And it's up on all of our YouTube channels. If you're listening audio only, again, we'll highly recommend checking out the intro by Indy Mouse, because it's fucking killer.
So good.
Yes. Patrons, this episode include at the $5 reward tier and above at patreon.com/roundtable. We got to start from top of the list again, and this is when everybody else just bobs their heads around because it's adorable. We start with Max, Christopher, Casey, Cataby, Jonathan, Bob, Jeff, Robert, David, Bradley, Matt, Julian, Hired Help, Caspian, Crawdad, Kevin, Berkland, EP Diablo, Maximilian Messerschmidt, Smurfette, Louis, Logan, Ignacio, Full-Grown Gaming, Kyle, Gibonis, Christopher, Garju, Batman9502, Kaj, Star Copper, Eroticals, still love that, Vandervets, and I'm not going to say your first name this time because I just don't want to butcher it anymore, and I want to keep you as long as we can just so I can apologize to you every time. Laurel, Grace, Peter, Thomas, Michael, Zachary, Unix, Sebastian, John, Michael, Justin, Positron, Morton, Scott, Urbane, Muscuff, DP, Jesse, Chris, Will the Foe, Kyle, Suicide Printing, Z-Mod, Wolves at My Door, beautiful Twitch streamer, Jeremy, Eric, Dylan, Tobias, Grizz, Chris, Grimbo, Andrew, Chris Bunch, Nim, Gramey, Will, Logan, Jay, Lindsay, Josh, Sam, Christopher, Titan, Luke, JH, Paul, Nathan, Rusty Hole, Chris, Konstantinos, Jimmers, Donut Overlord, Jose, Benjamin, Jordan Yalandi, Brizzle, Brip, Andrew, Sebastian, Cooper, Marvin, Iluk, Ian, The Awakak, Julian, Lucas, Dudok, Jack, Tobias, Jackokar, Doug, Hammerschnitz, Tom, Hugh, Big D Docking Dude, Joseph, Connor, and Christopher.
They got longer?
It got a little longer. Glad you noticed.
Yeah, I
appreciate that.
Definitely appreciate that.
Thank you so much, guys, for all of your support. Patreon.com/roundtable. Again, we'll be back in 2 weeks. We are currently, I think it's probably a little less than $900 away from that weekly schedule. So if that's something you want to push for, any contribution is appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Later.
Roundtable Podcast, fuck you!
God damn it, Bear.
It's alright, he was contractually obliged to say that.
Oh, we didn't even do it! Oh no! We have to get them all in. Watch.
I was still recording.
Watch Dracula Fetus Animations, and this is just gonna be like a really long fade out. Luck is a skill you have to earn. This podcast is entirely listener-supported. To consider making any sort of contribution, large or small, visit patreon.com/roundtable.